Welcome back to Unlocking Our Code podcast. Today we're diving into a feeling so many moms carry but rarely talk about openly: mom guilt. Whether it shows up as self doubt, comparison, or the pressure to be perfect, this guilt can feel heavy. But today we're going to release some of that weight and unlock lots of information and just go through this topic, and hopefully it helps someone out there. And tonight I'm here with Lou. Hi, Lou.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing good. And this episode is going to definitely help me. So I'm like number one here first. Number one is going to help me first for sure.
It's a good one. I love this topic because I think that if you're a mom, there's no way you have not felt this at one point or another, right? I feel that it's something, it just comes with the journey of parenting, right?
Yeah, it comes with the title of being a mom, you know? And then like so many things that we learn along the way that kind of like, I feel like it carries on to the expectation of that title of being a mom. So yeah, mom guilt, man, have I been heavy on that lately. Definitely just like having, I was literally telling a client earlier today how sometimes clients will ask me, oh, how many kids do you have? And I'm like, oh, I have 3 kids. And, one's he turned 18 already. The other one's 13, the other one's 11. And so some clients are, they don't have kids or they're fairly young and they're just like, oh my God, yeah, your kids are grown already. You're pretty much like, they don't need you as much and stuff. And I say, well, yeah, but it almost seems like in the stage that they're in, well, in every stage that they're in, not only in the stage my kids are in, but the stage that they're in, every day, it's like waking up to every day is something different, or a whole new wave of something new, right? So even if saying, and I was at one point saying, oh yeah, my kids are, well, the baby's 11 already, and the oldest is 18, and I mean, they don't really need us anymore. Now we're more free, but no, it's like this stage is my son is teaching me something new every freaking day. So is my 13-year-old because she's, he taught me something new as raising a male, and he's the first. And then my 13-year-old is teaching me something new as a female and going through everything also, for the first time for me. And then my 11-year-old is night and day, completely different from my. So every day it's like you never stop. Parenting, you never stop. Mothering, you never stop. And every day is like, when you think you got it down, well, tomorrow, guess what? It's going to be like restart, everything brand new.
It's such a journey, right? I feel the same how you're saying that every day is like a new experience with them, whether it's a new experience or just simply getting to know them differently, because obviously they're growing. This is an episode, not an episode, a chapter where they are learning who they are and learning how to express themselves and learning the things they like and don't like, right? So every day it's almost like we're waking up to this new little human.
A new one. Here's a new one,
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It's like a whole new, every day it's like, oh, guess what? And you're like, what? The things that come out of their mouth, sometimes you're just like, what? And learning how to react to that or not react, or like internalize something so that you don't, like, your reaction doesn't like scare them away or something, so every day this year and last year and this year has been, when it comes to parenting, my awareness of parenting, it's just, I'm not just kind of like, I'm trying to be extremely intentional, so I'm not just like just going with the flow, like what I feel like I had been doing in the past, kind of just like, oh, you just go, like, I have things to do, we have shit to do, we're just gonna go, but not really being intentional or having a purpose for them. And this I could say this almost this last year, I feel like I've been trying to be extremely intentional and just being more aware of myself as a parent, which has helped me a lot recently, my awareness. But yeah, every day I'm just like, holy smokes, it's something new every single day. And I'm so proud of who they are. So proud of the things that come out of their mouth, or like who they become, how they show up. And I'm super proud of who they are. And it's kind of scary too, like to watch them. And then you just hope that every time you see them, it's that they had a good day, that, you know what I mean? You're kind of hoping like, oh my God, like it's almost like a bit of anxiety, like, oh, what are they going to tell me today? You know, like like I'm always bracing myself, like what's, you know, like what's going to happen today? Are they feeling good? Do they have a bad experience? Did they just experience something negative? You know, or did they learn something new? Or, you know, did they find out something new about themselves? Yeah, it's a human that you absolutely love. They like a piece of your heart outside of you. And then you're just watching them like intensely. You're watching them grow into something that you've never seen before, right? You've never seen who they're becoming. So it's all new. Yeah, what an experience.
Yeah, and I feel that with all of that, definitely is where the mom guilt starts playing, right? Living and having those deep connections with them and feeling that level of love towards our children is when we start putting that pressure on ourselves as mothers, right? Because like you said, we're watching this human grow every single day, so we want the best for them and we hope they have a better life than we ever had. And you know, and I think that's when we start playing all these thoughts and all these things about mom guilt.
Yeah.
What do you feel that mom guilt? What is that? What is it? What do you feel like it is in your own opinion?
Well, I'm definitely having and going through that at the moment, you know, and I know what it feels like, and I can explain also what it just, to me, it was, to me, it felt more like definitely like a heartbreak, for sure. You know, it felt like a heartbreak because to me, I saw the things that I could have done, that I feel, and, you know, from in that point of view, in that time, that I feel that I could have done better for my kids, right? And what I wish I could go back and change so that my kids don't react a certain way, or don't feel certain things, or aren't, they don't have these fears or these expectations of themselves that I placed on them. And so now they're growing with that, right? But, you know, really thinking about it, I was thinking, you know, having mom guilt, you know, at first was being very self-aware of the things just being self-aware of my parenting, right? But then like really going further into it, you know, we talked about it, like it really is, I feel like having mom guilt is putting all these expectations on myself as a parent, you know? But yeah, I definitely feel that, you know, mom guilt, you know, talking about it, how we've been discussing it, does come from the expectations that we set on ourselves, the expectations that were kind of like ingrained in us of what we're supposed to be, and definitely like society, like what society tells us we should be, right? So then those expectations are hard, like they're hardcore, like they're ingrained, they're tattooed in our brain, like this is what you need to be doing. And so when we don't do that, and then we look back in hindsight and we're like, dang, we didn't do that, that's when it comes in, it kicks in, and it feels heavy, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. I have also here, I looked up a definition, like what's the information online, right? And it says that mom guilt is the persistent feeling of doubt, shame, or anxiety that a mother experiences when she believes she's not meeting the expectations, real or perceived, of what it means to be a good mom, right? So it's kind of like going back to that. Mom guilt is born from false expectations. That who set them, it wasn't, probably not even ourselves, right? they comes more deeper than that, further than that. It comes from our grandmothers, from our mothers, right? Because our grandmothers passed on that information to our mothers, and then our mothers passed it on to us, right? So it's a very ancient thing. It's not even born from right now. A lot of the discomfort I learned in my journey that a lot of the discomfort we feel is not even ours either. It's that we are feeling it because we are the ones meant to break it. There's been a lineage behind us of women who have felt this deep shame, this deep pain of, especially back then, right? When they probably went through more difficult things like no food, no shelter, carrying that heaviness. And now years later, we're still feeling it ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So some of it is ours, and then some of it is also coming from the lineage. And when we do have awareness that there's mom guilt, right? Because it comes to a point where we're actually aware, hey, like I have this pattern playing. It's when it's time for us to feel. Not to fix it, because we're not going to be able to fix it right away. Yeah. But at least begin allowing ourselves to feel. So knowing that mom guilt is just a pattern of different emotions like shame, doubt, false expectations that come from us, from our lineage too.
Yeah. And one thing that I feel has a lot to do is not only like I can kind of sit here and say, I mean, would you think, because that our mom's expectations of being the perfect mom are completely different from the expectations that I think are the perfect mom, right? It has a lot to do with probably the way I was raised, right? What I didn't get as growing up. But a lot of it is poured in from like the social expectations of what a perfect mom is supposed to be. Someone who's patient, selfless. You're very well put together. You have it all figured out. You do the pretty meals every freaking day. You do the sit down and let's have dinner together and let's all talk about our day today, and their clothes is clean and their shoes and your house is picked up and your dishes are washed and they have like the perfect beds and the perfect rooms and the perfect grades and the perfect everything, you're in part of the PTO and all this other BS, right? And that's something that also plays deeply, it's not only from our not only brought from like our parents or the lineage and stuff like that, but a lot of it has to do with what society's created, this false thing of like what a perfect mom is supposed to be.
Yeah, because everything that you mentioned right now, every single thing is programming, societal programming, everything. It's like you described a movie. Yeah. What you were shown in the movie. And why did we get played that movie all of our life? Since we were little. That's the movie we watched in TV, right? The perfect, quote unquote, household, right? So that we can always have false expectations and never meet them. And what happens if you don't meet those expectations? You feel like crap all the time. You don't feel good enough. You don't feel enough. It's never enough. So then that keeps you in a low vibration. Yeah. Why would society wants us in a low vibration? In a low vibration, you get sick. So it's like there's so much if you go deeper and deeper, right? Of why these things are playing out, right? And it's about us being aware, like you said. Okay, I feel mom guilt, but is this guilt really mine? Is it something I'm feeling because it's currently truly happening? Or is it that I'm feeling ancestral stuff or past stuff? Or am I feeling society's expectations? Which one is it, right? And understanding that the true you, your soul, can never fail out being a great person to your kids. That's just a natural thing, right? Yes, there's been parents that have not done it, but that's, there was no awareness there, right? So I feel that once the awareness is there, we are able to understand, like, okay, these feelings that I'm feeling, they're real because they feel real, but where are they coming from? Yeah. And do I have to keep listening to that voice that's like playing in my mind?
Yeah.
Is that really my stuff? Is this coming from my heart? Or like, where is that info coming through, you know?
Yeah, like, where did I learn it? And why am I, why is it there? Like, this is what I need to meet. Because the feeling of not being enough, right? Like, or not feeling like you're enough as a parent, that's hard. Like, that's a super hard pill to swallow, because we're already dealing, and I guess for not only the moms, but I'm guessing the dads too, right? But I mean, we're already struggling with like being our own self, because I've been harping on this for a while now. It's like, we're not only parents, or we're not only wives or husbands or sisters or daughters or whatever. We're a person. Like, we're a person first and foremost, and then we're a wife, and then we're mom and stuff like that. But a lot of us forget that part. A lot of us forget that we are, first and foremost, we're a person. We're a human. We weren't born with kids. We weren't born with a spouse or a partner. We were born with ourselves, right? And then we had all these dreams and aspirations and things that we wanted to do and things that we wanted to become. And then we met a person, and then we become a partner, right? We're no longer that person anymore. A lot of us don't. And then we become parents, and then that's the only role we carry, just being a parent. So it's really hard when you're feeling like you're not enough as a parent. And then you realize that, who are you as a person? And then to carry that burden to, like, shit, I'm not even, what am I? Who am I? Like, what do I like to do? It's a spiraling situation, right? I went through the spiraling one already of the who am I as a person. And I'm figuring that one out right now. The things that I want, the things that I want to become for the things that I wanted to become. And who I want to be every day. But now that I'm like really focusing on the parenting part, I'm like, yeah, I feel like the guilt is heavy. It feels like a definite heartbreak, because I'm now that I'm seeing my kids, I'm seeing them do things, say things, or that I feel that are going to cause pain to them in the long run, like in the future. I don't want my kids to ever feel pain. I don't want them to ever feel regret. I don't want them to, what parent does, right? We don't ever want our kids to hurt. But I totally, mentioning that to you, and it, you saying like your kid is on their path, they're exactly where they need to be, helps bring me back to that moment of like, okay, I'm going to trust, I need to trust. I need to go back to the trust part. Because those feelings of, fuck, like, I wish I could just go back and never have said things to my kid, like comparing my child to somebody else. I wish I never would have done that. I wish when he was in sports, I wish I never would have, said, how come you're not doing this fast enough? How come, look at that one, he's always there. How come you're not playing? Why did they take you out? Why, like things like that, that made him feel like he's probably not enough, and I didn't know any better, but now that in hindsight, I wish I'd never used these words with him, so those type of things hurt, when I see that my kid might be struggling with self-esteem issues, might be struggling with, wanting to be wanting to be perfect, I guess, with and everything, or feeling overwhelmed because he feels like he has to do A, B, and C, and he doesn't want to fail at any of it, so then he just gets so overwhelmed that he doesn't do it, or things like that. And I know now that I'm super self-aware of these things, now I know where it comes from. And it all comes back to, and I point it back to myself. Like, these things that I probably could have said different. I probably should have never have said. And that's the guilt that I'm carrying right now. Things that I wish that I could take back because I could see how it's now affecting him now that he's a young adult. He's 18 now, you know, he's just starting into adulthood. And I'm just like, I've always said, I never wanted my kids to be sitting in a therapy couch talking about me, you know, or his dad or his stepdad. And I'm seeing it. So that's scary, you know. I'm seeing it and I'm like replaying it in my head. I'm just like, oh, I wish like that's the guilty part, you know, that I don't want my kids, not only him, but any of my kids to hurt because of something I did that I could have done better. And I have to come back and give myself grace. I have to keep reminding myself because it's not easy. I have to give myself grace and say, you didn't know better, you know, because I really didn't. You know, I didn't know what I know now. I wish I did, but yeah, I didn't know, you know, and and I have to keep telling myself that so I can not only let it go, but I guess forgive myself. Again, it's just giving myself grace to say like, it's okay. You know, now I know better. And now I'm very thankful that I can look at my kid and I can look at any of them and tell them exactly how I feel and apologize for the words that I used or didn't use, you know, and tell them exactly that I didn't know any better. Like, and I'm so sorry, you know, I'm so sorry for whatever belief you have in your head now that you feel you need to reach because of things that I told you that made you feel like you were incapable, made you feel like you weren't enough, made you feel like you were never going to reach, or made you feel like a failure. Because I was comparing you, or I was pointing fingers at you, or I was telling you, why aren't you doing A, B, and C? Or why aren't you doing it like that? Why aren't you doing this? You're never going to do that. You're failing yourself. You know, you're only going to fail. You're becoming a failure. Like things like that. I wish, you know, those are the words that now I would never use on my kid, you know? But that guilt, it's there.
Yeah. And I think that I honestly, in my journey with mom guilt is it's been also a very like long journey, and it's still to this day sometimes when it creeps up and it comes back, something that always helps me come back to the present is you didn't know better at that time. Right now we know better, now we do better, right?
Yep.
And it's not about reaching perfection, because if we are aiming to reach perfection as a mom or as a dad, we're always going to continue to feel like we're failing because they're false expectations. Those things are an illusion, you know? Because I don't think it's perfection that we're trying to reach in motherhood. I think it's connection, true connection to our children, and that could be looked at in so many different ways, right? If we just gave ourselves an opportunity to shift those things, those little things that we tell ourselves, in our head, right?
Oh yeah, I think connection, you know, now these days I see days where my kids are saying things to me that in my mind I'm blown away. I'm like, I can't believe my kids are sharing this with me. Like in the moment while they're talking to me, my brain is like, holy shit, like they're really saying these things to you, you know? And they're really sharing this with you. They feel that comfortable, they feel that open. Things that in my head I'm like, I would never have said this to my parents. You crazy, you know? And they're just coming up to me sharing, and I'm excited, and then I'm blown away, and then I'm like in awe, and I'm like in disbelief, like, is this really for real? So like, is this really happening? And I have to take a step back and say like, okay, yeah, your kids feel comfortable with you, they're connecting with you, they feel they can come and share things with you. You've opened that you know, I've opened that door for them, and they feel that comfort. And in that moment, I'm extremely thankful, grateful, like, okay, you know, I feel like I am doing something right? And so I need to keep remembering these things that I feel. Even my 18-year-old has done things that I question the fact that I can, you know, that I can sit there and cry with my kid, and it can be a mutual thing, and we can both like share how we feel and not feel awkward at all whatsoever. I don't feel awkward. I just feel like, oh my God, this is actually happening. Like, oh, like I'm so thankful that my son feels that he can come to me with these things, and my daughter can come and tell me things that probably half of her friends would not ever feel comfortable sharing with their parent. And she's telling me these things, and I'm just like, oh shoot, you know. And so it makes me feel really happy. It makes me go back to saying, okay, I'm building real connections with my children, which is what I want, you know. But again, like always, I feel that our oldest or the oldest is always the one that takes probably the worst of it, right? When it comes to parenting and having kids, because they're growing with us. Doesn't matter what age you were when you had your first kid, they're growing with you. They're showing you how to parent. They're teaching you the tough lessons. You're going to probably screw up most of them with your first kid, you know. They're the trial, you know, they're like the trial run. And then your other kids come along, and then you're like, okay, I could do this better, right? And the part of my son watching me do it better with my daughters, that's heartbreaking to me too, you know, that always breaks my heart. But I've apologized to him so many times already for that, you know, because telling him, like, I told him, I've had so many conversations, and I told him, I've learned everything with you. Like, I learned how to be a parent. You've taught me to be a parent. And everything was like a trial with you. Like, I had to learn so many things, and now I see what I've done, and then I get a chance to do it again with Mia, and I got a chance to do it again with Camila. And yeah, on the third time, I'm pretty sure I've gone 100 times better, you know, but I'm sorry that I didn't learn that with you. And so, but because I have this connection with him, I'm super thankful that I do get a chance to apologize to him, you know, and just kind of hope that it's not too late, you know.
So I really feel like a lot of the things that really hurt us is mainly just listening to these false expectations, right? A lot of if we're able to just focus and understand that a lot of the mom guilt we're feeling, yes, we don't bypass the feelings, of course they feel real in our human experience, but at the end of the day, it's like understanding that there is other points of views that we can look at information from, right? That guilt, if we just continue to stay on that frequency, it won't lead us anywhere good at the end, right? Because we're not thriving. We're just like in fear. So a lot of that energy building up can lead to other chaos, right? But when we are able to just understand, okay, well, I am feeling this way in this moment, but I did what I could as best as I could in that time with the information and knowledge that I had, in learning to forgive ourselves, right? And if forgiveness is not available in that moment where you feel like, no, I can't forgive myself, then starting with understanding why you did like the things that you did is also helpful, right? Well, I didn't have the tools to begin with, right? I didn't have the support needed or whatever it was. And if we could start with understanding, then forgiveness is a little easier. But a lot of the guilt that we're feeling is just built up emotions that we need to release, and that we are ready to move past from, that we're ready to forgive ourselves. That's what you hear is so loudly, right? Because I remember when I had that voice, like that was really loud with mom guilt thoughts. I felt frustrated because I could not find a way out of those thoughts and those emotions and that frequency, and I would just get stuck there over and over and over. But I learned that first I had to definitely acknowledge everything that I did, right? And how I felt, like the shame, the pain that I was carrying from not doing things quote unquote right for my kid at that time, and just acknowledging the pain. And then from there, you're able to get clarity, right? And then little by little building mantras that can help us come back to the present moment And so we can begin releasing all that shame,
Yeah.
you know, and we don't pass it on
Mm-hmm.
to the next generations, because whatever we don't feel and heal, the next generation will be called to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's true. I feel that a lot of us don't want, or a lot of people don't know how to get out of the guilt phase. They want to like live there, like survive in that. It keeps them going, and then they do things. They react, or they do things, or they parent, and from that phase, you know, they overparent, or they over shelter, or they overprotect, or they overgive, or they just overdo, right? Because they're parenting from the guilt phase, and they don't know how to get out of it. But really think about it. Guilt is such a harmful place to be in. For you as a person, you know, for you as a person to survive from guilt, it'll take you far. It'll make you do a lot of things that you probably wouldn't do when you're not in it. But the whole way, you're just kind of like if you're walking on like broken glass, the entire time you're just getting hurt by it. You're not, you know what I mean? It's not healthy, in other words.
Because you're overcompensating, and it's never enough.
Yeah,
Never.
You never feel enough. So there's, again, I'm gonna take it back to what I mentioned. There's the parent you, and then there's the you, right? And you are overcompensating in the parent's side, carrying the guilt with you. So all you're doing is hurting the you part, right? Not the parent you, not the partner, husband, wife, spouse part, the you part. That person is never feeling enough. Carrying shame and guilt is one of the heaviest burdens that you can carry, right? It leads to terrible things like depression. It makes you do just things that when you're not in that state of mind, you would question, why would I do that, right? So it just, it's a terrible state of mind. And we've mentioned before the frequency that you're on when you're feeling shame and guilt. That's the lowest frequency you can be on. You're probably not, you're making extreme questionable decisions. You're not parenting the way you would want to, right? And so staying in that state, in that phase of mom guilt, being aware of it and understanding, and like you said, feeling the pain, it's okay. I just yesterday I cried because I had to. Like, I was carrying it. It's feeling very heavy. And I said, it's okay. You know, at one point I just said, like, just let it out, let it come out, right? It just has to. It has to leave my body. It can't stay there. And I had so many things to do, but I had to like give myself a time. I just have to do it. I need to release it. I need to let it go out. I need to feel bad for that time being. For that time being, I felt guilty. I felt like shit. I was regretting so many things that I've done and said. It was just replaying in my head over and over. I just let it play. Do whatever you need to do in that moment, right? But I refuse to stay there. You know, I need to move on. I need to move forward, and I need to keep telling myself the same thing. Have grace for myself. I didn't know any better. I need to keep reminding myself that you didn't know any better. I know what when I was when I had my kids young, or my son when he was way, baby or younger. I know where I was I know my mental state. I know where I was. I know how much I had no self-love. I was living off survival, literally trying to survive. And fear, and you know what I mean? And I was living off of all that. How could I have been a better parent, a more present parent, a more aware parent, if I was struggling with all of that, with divorce, with trying to, find a place to live with him, like refusing to go back to my parents out of just not wanting to be there, like just so many things, anger against towards my parents, towards family members, like how was I wasn't in a good place.
And it's why compassion is important.
Yeah. I have to keep reminding myself, who were you then? What were you going through then? I cannot keep harping on and beating myself up for that. All I can do now is see me, the work that I've done before, see me in my different phases and stages in life, being I consider myself, I was a young mom. I had my son at 23. I think that's extremely young still, you know. I wasn't a teen mom, but that's like a teen parent, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and then being a single parent with him, you know, same thing. I was, you know, it was just trying to survive, trying to just so many things, and I can't go back and be mad at that person. Like, if I step back, I have to step back from being a parent, from the parent view. I have to go and look at myself as a person, as a human, as a woman, and I understand her. So then I feel that compassion. I feel more grace. Like I told you today, I feel way more at peace. The guilt is not haunting me. You know, I'm just kind of saying, like, it's okay, you know. I just have faith that my kids are where they need to be, that I'm where I need to be. I've done everything that I can to tell my kids how, if I could have done it better, if I could go back and if I would have known better, I would have done it better, right? But I know now.
Yeah.
And so that's my conversations with them now, and I'm at peace. I have to keep reminding myself, you need to be at peace with that, you know?
Yeah, because that's a lot of energy and heaviness to carry, right? One thing that when I was going through that, I would remind myself is, okay, would I be who I am now if I hadn't been parented the way I was parented by my mom, right? Whether it was good or bad. Would I be who I am? No. I needed that level of parenting at a soul level so that I could arrive to be who I am today, right? So if I needed all that to reach my goal, no one was wrong in the story.
Yeah.
It was part of the story.
Yeah.
And also remembering that the pieces of you that quote unquote hurt your child because you were not aware, they were not you. They were pieces of you, aspects of you that were unconscious, that were not consciously parenting, but not you. Because your soul is not those aspects. You know, those were aspects that were past, a past version of you, right? So it's always like coming back to this present moment and understanding that there's a higher purpose behind everything, so that we can little by little heal that wound, because that wound is heavy. It's painful. And I don't think that even now when I get glimpses of it and it comes back and I start having memories, right, of things that I've done or I said, I feel it in my body, and I start feeling my body feel weak and like
if you're
sad,
getting sick.
like that, like just really low. And then immediately when I start feeling that in my body, I speak to it and I said, it's okay. You know, we're okay. Our children are okay. And we're doing better now. And I forgive myself. And just, it's continuous remindment to your mind, to your body, that you're safe, that you love you regardless of what has happened in the past, right? Children don't come with instructions. And I bet you that if they came with instructions, we still probably wouldn't get it right. I don't think we're meant to. You know,
there is, because there is no right, right? There is no right. There's no such thing as perfect parenting or the right parenting, right? And you can play the part all you want. You want to post all your perfect lives on social media, that you pack the perfect lunches, that you do the perfect momming thing, that you are the perfect parent, you have the perfect home. You can do all of that, you know, if that's what you want to post, that's fine. But you just be very self-aware that there's no such thing, you know. There's no such thing. There's so much chaos in it. There's so much chaos in it that no one talks about, no one shares. And I feel that that's definitely one of the biggest issues, right? What parent doesn't? Well, I mean, I did, you know, throughout the time that my girls were in elementary school, they always wanted their packed lunches, right? And yeah, I was waking up every morning and making them hot meals because my daughters would refuse to eat cold food like sandwiches and stuff like that. It had to be something hot. But even when I was doing that, and I would see videos of moms packing like the perfect little lunches where everything looks like it's snapping perfectly closed, and the cut up veggies and the fruits and the all this stuff, I was like, why can't I just do that? And I wanted to aim for that, and I felt like crap because my kids didn't have the prettiest freaking lunch pails or the pretty little packages, all that crap. And in hindsight, I'm like, this is stupid. Like, I was making my kids I was waking up cooking for them in the morning, something that I never did for anybody. And I'm making them hot freaking foods in the morning so they can take it for their lunch, Now I feel guilty because I'm not doing it for the younger one every day. Now I'm just like beating myself up. Like, I don't even make her lunch every day. Like, I'm a terrible parent. Do you know what I mean? So when is enough enough? When are we really going to be enough as a parent, right? So it's just being able to take the chaos and see, and I can sit here and look back at the chaos that I've had with my children, and I can say it's beautiful. Like, it was all so beautiful. Every single tear, every moment of like reaction, every moment of like anger or outburst or whatever, it's all so, I can go back and just smile and be like, it's, there's nothing wrong about that.
No. And I feel like to understand that, like what you were saying earlier, when is it going to be enough? When are we going to be perfect? And that moment is right here, right now, exactly who you are in this moment. There's no need to change anything in this moment. Everything is as it should. But that's the trust that needs to that's when trust needs to come in, right? Obviously, I don't say, abuse or anything like that, right? But just saying what we're doing in this moment, as long as our intention is the highest that could be in that moment.
Love. It comes from a place of love.
That's always like the beauty of it all, right? Having a good intention. And I know that because I wanted to share one day I was telling my youngest daughter, I wish I hadn't had you guys so young. That's probably one of the last times that I had a heavier episode. And that's when she told me that, it really shifted my mind. I felt the shift. I told her I wish I wouldn't have had you guys so early, because I feel that me being so young, I affected your guys' life with all the mistakes I made or whatnot. And she said, no, Mom, we were meant to do that. We were meant to learn from you. And when she told me that, it like shook me, because that's when my mind shifted, like, get out of the victim. That's when I felt it in my body saying, get out of it. Let it go. Yeah. Like, everything's playing as it should. Like, here's my 11-year-old at that time telling me, I'm meant to learn from you. You're meant to do this. You were meant to do what you did so that I can learn. And then most likely in the future, not repeat it ever again. So then in that moment, I realized, like, everything's playing how it needs to play. And after that is when I truly felt like that heaviness, that guilt that I carried had released for the most part. And when it does come back, now I can just use mantras to calm, or any of the tools that we use.
Yeah. And it's being able to not fall into states of where you can fall into depression. It's super depressing to feel like you're not momming perfectly or not being a good parent or whatever, And again, it's not only for the mom in you, it's for the human, the you part, not the mom you, not the spouse you or whatever, the you part, right? It's super important to remember that you need to have more compassion for yourself, that you need to be able to go back and see where it all came from and why, like, where were you in that time, in that point in your life, what did you know? But it's like it's the self-awareness, right? You have to be super aware of it. And just kind of like realizing like, okay, you know what? I can't even be mad at you. And when you go and you see these things and you have that realization, it's true what you say. Like, it does all come and you know, this is exactly where we need to be right now. This is exactly what needs to happen. And I guess we can't really go back and say we regret something and we wish we could have changed it. I mean, regrets are gonna happen. We're human. It's part of our nature to regret something, right? It's part of having the guilt also. But I guess going back saying I wish I would have done it differently, you know, it's probably not a word that we should be saying.
Yeah, being kinder to ourselves, right? When that information comes up, because people think that when our kids grow, it gets easier, but it doesn't. The experiences get a little more intense, right? What you are now in a place where I see myself when my daughter turned 18, and I was having the most difficult time because at 18 you are now detaching completely from mom, right? So I was having the most difficulty part, like detaching and seeing her as an adult as opposed like as a little girl, right? And I could see that a lot of the tension and the chaos that was playing in that time was because I was holding on to an idea that wasn't real anymore. And I was being asked to let go so that she can emerge as her new self, right? So sometimes we're still holding on to those ideas that the boy or the girl that's in front of me is a little boy or is a little girl. And it's not. Now they make their own decisions. Now they're carving their own paths, right? And what the fear that used to come up for me was, okay, she's an adult and now she's going to go on to the world and be her own person. Did what I give her, was that enough for her to thrive and survive, right? Did I give her enough? But I feel that when we grade ourselves, we're not the nicest. I give myself a D-, right? But to them,
the judge in you is just kicking in.
Yeah, but to them, it meant everything what you were able to give them, right? Yeah, we could have done things differently. But once we're at that point where we poured what we were meant to pour, it's just being kind to ourselves and trusting, having true trust that what we poured onto that child is exactly what that child needed for him or her to go on their path. Just trusting, right? It's all that's left at the end when they're ready to fly away is trust that you and what you pour onto that child, right?
Yep.
After that, they're no longer your kids. They become your friends.
Yeah.
And that's a whole beautiful new chapter, right?
Yep. Yeah. I think one of the things that I saw on Instagram recently is I follow this one page. I forget what it's called. I wonder if I could find it, but it just shows like like I guess they're like in an elder like a retirement home. And the page just like asks these elderly people questions, and then they answer the questions, and they write them down like on a board.
I think I seen it.
Yeah. And so like one of the boards that the elderly were holding, it's like little old ladies and little old men, right? And they put the questions on the board, and then their answers there. And one of them that was just, I love to see that because I love to get their perspective, right? Like their perspective is almost always the same thing, you know, laugh more, worry less, like don't work, like don't take jobs too seriously, don't take life too seriously, you know, like things like that they wish it could have been different. Anyways, one of the things was parenting advice. What's the number one parenting advice you would give, you know? And one of them said, just love them. Another one said, take good care of them. And another one said, advice, don't dictate. And the other one said, let them make their own choices. And, they're like all in their 90s and their late 80s and stuff. And that was really, it kind of like was really, really stuck with me, because it's not the first time I've seen it, right? I've seen it often where they say that one of the biggest things they wish they could take back is telling their kids what they should be doing and dictating their lives and not letting them make their own choices, telling them where they should be, right?
It's the fastest way to destroying a relationship.
Yeah.
When we're dictating or trying to tell them what to do. On the 2 weeks ago that I was in dance competition, all of my daughter's little friends were gathered in a room, and I was in the room, and they all turned to me and they asked me, do you allow Abby to date? Do you let her date? My daughter's a 7th grader, right? And I told them all, I don't think that's my decision to make. She's her own person. Of course, I will obviously, take the precautions and everything that a mom would. I was like, but she's her own person. I don't get to tell her what she feels for somebody else. And they're all like staring at me because they're shocked that that's like my answer, right? And it made me like reflect on myself. Like, I'm so happy that I get to allow her to do that, and that she can come and talk to me, and that she can open her heart. Obviously, there's things that we still have to, implement and make sure they're safe. But just like you said, it's so important that we allow them to be their own person, because that's such a quick way of destroying a relationship in such an important part of their life when they're teenagers, when they're becoming young adults. What we're doing, what we're trying to dictate just because we're the parent. And that's why those people, the elderly people, are saying we wish we didn't do that, because maybe they would have had a better relationship, or they'd have,
they'd be able to. There's absolutely nothing better in life than watching your child do something that makes them happy. I don't give a fuck what it is. It doesn't fucking matter. But watching your kid do something that makes them happy, and watching that joy in their face, and that they're just excited, and they're just out there just loving whatever it is that they're doing, not because you told them, not because I told them, not because somebody else is telling them to do it, because they fucking want to do it themselves. There's nothing better than that. Absolutely nothing beats that. And then them running to you and telling you, oh my God, did you see? I did this, I did that. Mom, I'm going to be part of this. Mom, I'm going to do that. Mom, come watch me I'm going to do this. It's like, there's nothing, oh my God, I can go and watch my kids practice. Watching them practice makes me happy because they want to be there. And I don't force them to do anything, but just watching them be excited and having fun at practice, that is just, so it makes me think, like, who am I to tell them what path to choose, what career to take, what school to go to, what job they need to take, who to date, when to date. I can't do that for them. I envision them having a path, and me coming and saying, I know it says here to, your life says to go left and then right, but no, we're going to go straight, and then way over there, you're going to take a U-turn, and you're going to come back. Like, who am I to change that for them? They're their own person. They're not me. They're not my husband. They're not my ex-husband. They're not, they're their own person. They're going to grow up. They're going to have their own family. They're going to have their own dreams, their own goals. Like, who the hell am I to tell them, because I probably didn't succeed in one thing, I didn't fulfill one thing, and now I want my kids to fulfill it because I didn't do it. It's not my fucking job.
Yeah.
My job is to be like, I want you to be happy. Whatever the hell you want to do, whatever you're doing, just be happy. Be a happy human being.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And it's true. Very, very, very true. And with that, it's also a great time, to remember that when things don't go as planned in our motherhood journey, and that guilt starts coming in, to remember that there's no right or wrong path, right? That the highest path will always be the path that's in front of you.
Yeah.
And we just have to trust that, right? And remembering that we could come back to all those little tools that we shared between you and I, that when that mom guilt is coming in, there is tools that can help you to come back to the present moment, to focus more on connecting with your children instead of having more moments of like worry or just like thinking of the worst case scenarios, you know, like choosing. Another one that I had is choosing love over guilt.
Yeah.
So when that guilt comes, it's just remembering that it's just a choice, right? We can either stay there or we can shift to love, because we always have a choice, right? And yeah, I mean, I think guilt is just going to be a companion. That's what it is in our parenthood journey.
It definitely is. It's always going to be there, you know? And like I said, it's part of who we are. We're human. It's normal to have it. No one's saying, oh, if you fall into guilt, you're messing up. No. What we're just saying is be very aware of it, and, you know, and let it do its thing, but don't stay there, you know? Don't stay there. Don't try to brush it off either or sweep it under the rug, because it's not going to go away. Feel it. Say what you need to say. Take a moment. You know, I was in my car saying everything that I had to say to myself. I had my moment of like going deep into that feeling, right? But then I said, all right, you know, there, it's out of my system. I let it out, at least for the time being. And again, going back to where I was, who I was, why I was, and understanding myself and forgiving that person. I don't even need to forgive her, honestly, because I've done that already. But just remembering and then feeling that compassion and being able to say, all right, you know, it's okay. And so those are the things that definitely helped, right? Because mom guilt is really just a sign of how much we care, how much we love, how deep that love is, right? We don't want our kids to hurt. We don't want our kids to regret. We don't want them to feel pain. We don't want them to feel shame. None of that. We don't want any of that. We wish we could have done everything, quote unquote, perfect, whatever that looks like, right? But it doesn't define who we are. Like, it really doesn't define who we are as moms or as a human ourselves, right? Like, it really doesn't, because there's no such thing, right? There's no such thing as I could have done it perfect or I wasn't perfect. So I just need to remember, I did the best we can. I did the best I could with what I knew. I just need to keep telling myself that. And that's what everybody should be telling. I did the best I could with what I knew, you know? That's what I knew. It is, you know, that's what it is. And like you said, just go back to love. Go back to love and creating connections with your child. Connect with your child. Get to know them. Let them get to know you. They're amazing. Like, you created this human. They're a person. Like, just to think that they're gonna grow up to be an adult, they have friends, they're gonna commingle, they're gonna have a job, or whatever the case, they're gonna have a business, whatever. And they're hilarious. They're a part of you. You're gonna see yourself in them. You're gonna just get to know them, laugh with them. Like, I don't know. It's been a completely different journey, getting to know my kids. And like I said, every single day they bring something different out of their little, feels like they have like little box, and they're like, hey mom, look at this now, you know. I'm just like, what the hell? Okay, you know. And but yeah, it's been painful, it's been fun, it's been funny, it's filled with love, but it's been one of the best freaking journeys in these last, I have an 18-year-old, I have a 13-year-old, and I have an 11-year-old. But this last year that I've been more aware, that I've done more work on myself, it's been so rewarding, because I feel that I could finally see them and I get to know them, and I love to hang out with them. They're just the best.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful when we begin arriving there. So don't allow this mom guilt to block you from having those beautiful experiences. It's part of us. Yes, it'll be a friend that's just there, that comes out in the shadows here and there, but just how we've practiced to talk to that voice that keeps us in guilt. Now it's time to practice on that other voice, on that voice that can nurture and help us live more at peace.
Yeah,
I would say, because I mean, you don't delete the past, but we could create peace with it, right? And I just want to remind anyone that stayed till the end of this episode, the fact that you're here and you're still here listening after an hour, that already makes you an amazing mother, an amazing person, worthy of the love and the connection that you deserve. And as always, I mean, anything else?
Yeah, no, you're doing it the way you need to be doing it. You know, don't let nobody else tell you otherwise. Don't let anyone else, nothing else influence you. Those pretty little videos on Instagram, you just need to remember how filters work. That's pretty much how it works. Whether it's a video, it's just a filter, you know. Very rarely do you see people posting real stuff on there. And when they do, like, it's super refreshing, right? You're just like, oh, thank goodness, right? But all the other stuff, it doesn't help. It really doesn't. But don't knock yourself down. You're exactly where you need to be doing. And as long as you are trying to build that connection with your child and doing it out of love, right? You know, you're healthy. You're trying to work on yourself. You're self-aware, conscious parenting. You're being intentional with what you're trying to do, even if you don't get it right, because we're not going to get it right. Whatever right means is, even, let's just take that word out our dictionary, right? But you're doing the best you can, right? That's what matters. That's all that matters. It's all we can do.
Yeah, I agree completely. So as always, we thank our listeners for staying till the end. We hope that this episode helped you in any way, or that you picked up a thing or two. And we will see you on next week on the next one. Bye.